Welcome to our posts. Today, we will see stories of r/relationship advice. How do I 25F tell my parents 56F, 59M that I'm dying? As the title says, really? Using a throwaway because my main can be identified. My 25F parents and I are really close emotionally, but not geographically. They live abroad and I see them a couple times a year, but we speak pretty much every day. A few months ago, I started getting some weird symptoms, unexplained weight loss, fatigue, abdo pain, etc., and went to the doctor who referred me for more tests. Because I didn't want to worry my parents before we knew it was anything to worry about. My partner 27M together 10 years, and I kept it to ourselves. Many tests later, including some very uncomfortable scans and a biopsy, and it turns out that I have incurable bowel cancer and have a year or so at most, which sucks. No one knows yet except my partner, but I need and want to tell my parents so that it's not a complete shock to them when I see them in a few months. I'm due to visit in November, and I really need that visit to be as happy as it can be, and also because I need them. How the hell do I approach this conversation? It doesn't feel like something I can just drop into a phone call, but the thought of flying out to them to tell them in person is pretty daunting. Also, for my partner's sake, I want to tell them soon because aside from me, he's the only one who knows. Didn't want a well-meaning relative from his side posting something on social media or any risk of my family hearing it from anyone else, and this is really hard on him. He needs someone other than me he can talk to about it. Any advice would be so welcome. Thank you. Next story. Boyfriend 25M became disabled, and I 25F want to break up, but I'd feel like a terrible person. How do I handle this? Throwaway act because I have friends who know my real Reddit name. I 25F have been with my boyfriend 25M since high school. Unfortunately, he got into a car crash and became disabled below his waist. I wish to be by his side during his recovery. Disabilities have never been a deal breaker for me, and I loved him, so while this is going to be a struggle at first, I believed that we'd be able to overcome this. I tried to participate in his recovery by being there with and for him during physical therapy. I moved into his parents' house to help his parents to take care of him because he is unable to do many tasks without assistance. My job is very close to their parents' place, and my manager allows me to clock out in case my BF's parents need my help with things like getting my boyfriend to the hospital and such. But my boyfriend just completely shut down. I understand that this is a life-changing injury, and at such a young age, this is absolutely devastating. But he just doesn't want me anywhere near him. I tried to take him out to concerts, plays, organize picnics. Trips just make him believe that his life didn't end with his injury and he is capable of living a fulfilling life. But he was just indifferent to it all. Therapy doesn't seem to help him because he still seems to be completely dissociated from everything. I couldn't see him like this anymore, and I demanded to tell me everything that's on his mind. And he just said that he is angry about everything, that he feels like I'm here only out of moral obligation, that he doesn't feel like a proper boyfriend because he can't do anything for himself, that he wants to be a real man, but he isn't even able to make love to me anymore, etc. I tried to be empathetic and told him that if I've been here for this long after the accident, it's obviously not an issue to me because I still love him. He just scoffed, and it seemed like he didn't believe me. Now it's come to a point where he's throwing things at me, demanding me to leave the room. He's ignoring me, and when he's not, he insults me. He's even throwing the food I bring him on the floor like a child. He became emotionally abusive, and I'd be lying if I said that I still love him. I genuinely wanted to be there for him because I've seen stories where people after intense physical therapy manage to get back on their feet and walk with some assistance. And I believed that he might be able to do it too. I believe that miracles exist, and the human body is a fascinating thing. Maybe he'd be able to walk again. He just needed a lot of work and faith in himself. But he became so nasty, rude, hurtful that, I don't know, I think I just fell out of love with him. I approached his mom and told her that I feel like I probably don't love him anymore because he's been so hurtful towards me for 2+ years now, and I just can't endure it anymore. I don't deserve this. His mom immediately got defensive, saying that he suffered a great psychological trauma after the accident, and it's normal for him to be so depressed. I completely understand that, but it doesn't give him a green light to be so hurtful towards people who are actually trying to help him. His mom asked me to stay because my boyfriend needs my support, but judging from his behavior, he doesn't want or need me at all. Maybe he's doing it on purpose to push me away. But at this point, I don't care anymore. I can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped. I'm tired. I tried for a long time. He shut me out. I want to break up with him, but I'd feel like an absolute trash human being for leaving a person behind when they need me the most. But at the same time, I can't endure this anymore. I want to leave, but I don't want to be that person, if you know what I mean. I am at a loss. I need advice. Next story. During our vacation in Vegas, I 28F woke up at 2 a.m. to find my husband 34M missing, his location off, and thousands in charges from a strip club on our bank account. Where to go from here? My husband and I booked a last-minute getaway to Vegas for a couple nights. We arrived yesterday. We had tickets to see a show last night, but after a long day of drinking in the heat, I wasn't feeling well and needed to end the night early. I encouraged my husband to still go so he could enjoy his evening. So he did, and I went to sleep. 2 a.m. rolls around and I wake up to find that he never came back to the room. The show is literally at our hotel, so I start to panic. I go to check his location. It's off. Then I text him asking where he was. He reads it and doesn't respond. I call him several times and he sends me to voicemail. While I was trying to get a hold of him, I see there were 2 separate charges for $1 zzzn plus from a strip club. He didn't respond to me till nearly 3 a.m. and just texted he was on his way back. 30 minutes later, he stumbles in the room absolutely obliterated. He tries to lie and say he was just gambling down the strip, that he never went to the strip club even though the charges were literally made with Apple Pay and he hadn't lost his phone. After going through his receipts, I found he'd been at the strip club for nearly 5 hours, SN confirming that he went straight from the show and left 40 minutes after my first "Where are you?" text. I also checked all of our accounts, and if all the charges made settle as they are, he'll have spent nearly $6,000 there. He swears he didn't cheat on me and says nothing sexual happened. Though I can only imagine the situations you find yourself in after 5 hours in a strip club, especially when you're intoxicated beyond comprehension. I feel like I'll never truly know what happened, and that alone is the most painful part. We flew home a day early, and I just have no idea where to go from here. We've been together for 7 years, married for 4 years in just a couple months. As far as I was aware, we're in a great place in our marriage, and there haven't been any issues with infidelity in the past. This is completely out of character. I'm absolutely crushed and deeply disappointed. He was reckless with our money, with my trust, with our marriage, and it really hurts. The fact we were on a solo trip together, and instead of coming back to me, or doing literally anything else, he chose to go to a strip club. I would love any insight plus advice from those who've gone through something similar with their partners. Thank you for reading. Next story. My boyfriend 26M is in a mood because I 21F had a pizza after a night out. Do you see where he is coming from? For context, I am not a big girl. I am just a normal weight. I swim about 4 times a week, but I am a bit of a foodie. I have a food Instagram account and I like to go out for food. I probably go out for lunch or dinner weekly. I don't count calories and I am not strict with my diet. Last night my boyfriend and I went out with his friends and I came home early since we had an early train to catch in the morning. I got a pizza on my way home. I was a bit drunk and thought it would soak up some of the alcohol and I'd feel better in the morning. I don't go out drinking really regularly, by the way, so this isn't something that happens every week, but I normally will get a pizza after a night out. I ate probably just over half the pizza, and I shared some with a girl I met on the street. My boyfriend got in about an hour after me, and then this morning he saw the pizza box. He was in a mood about it all morning, telling me he tries hard to be attractive for me, and it seems like I don't care at all. He goes to the gym most days, a similar frequency to how often I swim, and we also sometimes play badminton together. He isn't ripped or anything. He's a normal weight. I said, "Do you find me unattractive how I am?" He said no, he finds me attractive. We have very regular sex daily. He wants me to think about the long term. I said I would understand if he wasn't happy with how I look now. I feel like I do keep myself in shape by swimming, but I don't want to be so obsessive about what I eat. He is very conscious about what he eats. That's it really. Am I missing something, or should he get off my back? Ida. Thanks guys for all of your responses. I can't believe this has blown up like it has. I'm sorry that I can't reply to them all, but I have read them. I have spoken with him, and I think it is definitely projection. He told me he wanted a kebab on the way home last night, and didn't get one because he would feel too guilty about it. So to see me get a pizza so carefree when he feels like he can't do the same thing made him jealous. Of course it doesn't excuse his behavior, and he has been apologizing all day. I have told him if anything along these lines crops up again, it will be the last time. Thanks again. Next story. I30F just found out my husband's 32M been lying to his work about my pregnant sister 26F being his wife. Can I even fix this? Throw away because I'm embarrassed and don't want this on my main. I'm really struggling right now and could use some advice from people who aren't in my immediate circle because I'm too embarrassed to talk about it with anyone else. I'm 30 and I've been married to my husband 32M for 5 years. We've been together for 7 and we met back in college. He was the first guy who made me feel comfortable in my own skin. I've always been more of a tomboy into sports, preferring jeans over dresses, and my body's more on the athletic side. Growing up, that wasn't always easy. But my husband loved me for who I am, and he never made me feel like I needed to change. I really thought I'd found the perfect partner. I also have a younger sister, Rosalie 26F, and we've always been close. She's beautiful and effortlessly charming, the kind of person everyone just loves. Our mom has some serious narcissistic tendencies and definitely played favorites growing up, with Rosalie being the golden child. It wasn't her fault, and she never asked for the attention. In fact, she's always been super kind and supportive, even though she's the type who avoids confrontation and puts herself last to make others happy. So we've never really had any issues between us, but all those comparisons growing up left me with insecurities I've never fully shaken. About 2 months ago, Rosalie's long-term partner left her after finding out she was pregnant. She was devastated, and we agreed she should move in with us for a while to get back on her feet. She's been staying with us ever since, and at first everything seemed fine. My husband didn't seem to act any differently, so I didn't suspect anything was wrong. 1 month ago, though, I asked Rosalie to drop off something for my husband at work because I was swamped. I didn't think much of it, just that it would save me some time. Well, she did, and it turns out that when she got there, everyone assumed she was his wife. They congratulated him on his beautiful wife and their soon-to-be son, and instead of correcting them, he just went along with it. He admitted that he liked how his coworkers reacted to having a beautiful wife and a baby on the way. It made him feel good. One of his coworkers asked him where his wife was at an event, and since Rosalie had already dropped by once before, they assumed she was his wife, and he didn't correct them. It made him feel validated, like he was living up to some ideal that I guess I don't fit into. I didn't find out about any of this until a few nights ago. We were out for dinner celebrating our anniversary when we ran into one of his coworkers at the restaurant. The guy asked my husband where his wife was, and when my husband said something vague about her being busy, I felt like the ground had just dropped out from under me. The date was basically ruined, and we went home as soon as we ate. I confronted him as soon as we got home, and that's when he finally told me everything. To say I'm devastated would be an understatement. My husband and I had always agreed on being child-free. We had that discussion early on in our relationship, and I thought we were on the same page. I don't have a strong desire to be a mom myself, partly because I have PCOS and I know it would be difficult for me to conceive. But now it feels like my husband's been using my sister to live out some fantasy life that I could never give him. Rosalie had no idea about any of this. When I told her, she was horrified. She kept apologizing even though none of this is her fault. She feels awful and has even offered to move out, but I can't ask her to do that. She's already going through so much and I want to be there for her. But it's so awkward now. I can see how guilty and uncomfortable she feels being in the middle of this mess. This situation has also ripped open old wounds I thought I'd healed. I spent most of my 20s in therapy working on my self-esteem and trying to overcome these insecurities, especially the ones tied to growing up in Rosalie's shadow. I thought I'd finally come to a place where I could love myself for who I am. But now it feels like all that progress has been undone. Years of therapy feel wasted, and I'm back to square one, questioning my worth and my place in my husband's life. Since finding out things have been incredibly strained at home. My husband and I aren't even sleeping in the same bed, and we've barely spoken to each other. The trust we once had feels shattered, and I have no idea how to even start repairing it. I feel so betrayed. If he can lie about something like this, what else is he hiding? Did he think I wasn't good enough to be introduced to his colleagues? And why has he never talked about his work friends before? I'm starting to wonder if he's been hiding me because he's embarrassed by who I am. This whole thing has dragged up every insecurity I've ever had. I've always felt like I didn't measure up to Rosalie, even though she's never done anything to make me feel that way. But now it feels like my husband has confirmed my worst fears. He chose to pretend Rosalie was his wife because she fits some ideal image, and I don't. I honestly don't know how to move forward from this. I love my husband and I want to believe this was just a huge mistake, but it feels like so much more than that. I'm also worried about how this is affecting Rosalie. She's been nothing but supportive, but I can see how uncomfortable and guilty she feels being in the middle of this. I'm really struggling here. How do I even begin to address this with my husband without it turning into a huge fight again? I feel so low, but I can't stand the idea of our relationship ending. I love this man more than anything. He keeps saying sorry and trying to plan date nights. I'm honestly not in the mood for any of it. I've cried 2 times and have binge ate more than I have ever before. How do I live my life now knowing that I'm possibly not enough for my husband? Next story. How do I 31F tell my close friend 35F that her adult-only parties are offending people? First of all, I would love a real adult-only party where adults can talk and have conversations without kids interfering. She ain't doing that. She is having a whole party for everyone to focus on her kids only. I need to know how to address this with her. This happened 2 times so far. The first time, we pretty much all assumed that she had to have planned for childcare that must have backed out or something. But since we weren't sure, we didn't ask her. I think everyone felt awkward believing they were paying babysitters for an adult night and then having to have her kids at the dinner table, and them very actively part of the evening needing to be entertained 2 young kids. Then it happened again. She sent out events for a dinner party in the evening with adults only on the invitation. Then, when we got there, she had set up all these kids' games everywhere. She arranged the night around everyone kind of playing with her kids, and I could tell everyone felt awkward because people just wanted to have an adult night talking. But she had promised the kids that everyone would participate in the games they had set up and asked everyone if they wouldn't mind playing with the kids. I know that several people who attended the last event were very bothered by having to do this. People were whispering on the side about how they had to pay a babysitter for the night and would have rathered bring their kid along, and the kids could have just played games together if it's a family event. We barely ever pay a sitter, so I was kind of confused about why I had to spend my very limited babysitter funds on a night that I didn't even get to talk much with other adults because the kids were for sure the center of the evening. She even stopped everyone to gather around to look at the kids' recent art projects and tell stories and sing. Is this normal in other circles? What would you do if this was your friend? If I do say something, how would you explain this so that the person isn't mad or feels like you just don't like their kid? She was mad because everyone left early and she had catered the event, but I think people didn't want to stay and preferred to just go back to their kids because they felt a little disrespected by the way things went. People are saying they don't want to hang out with her anymore. I'd know what to do. Next story. How do I 25M gently explain to my girlfriend 26F that she needs to clean her butt more thoroughly? Me and my girlfriend have been together for almost a year, and it's been great. She's sweet, caring, and is usually really understanding. The problem, however, is that her hygiene seems to be getting worse. It started a few weeks ago. When having sex, I noticed that she would have a speck of poop under her butthole. At first, I didn't mention it. It had only happened once after all. Over the weeks, though, it's happened more and more often. Recently, when I went to do the laundry, I noticed a pretty big stain on a towel. Figuring that this was becoming an issue, I decided to have the awkward talk with her a few days ago. This didn't go down well. Basically, the towel incident was because of diarrhea, and that since she couldn't control that, there was nothing she could do. When I explained to her that this issue had been going on for a while, she came with a different explanation. Apparently, she can't ever feel when she's about to fart, and when she farts, poop comes out. I tried explaining that if that is the case, she needs to clean every time. She then told me that she found the whole conversation irrelevant, as since she's already doing her best, there should be nothing more to talk about. Seeing as it was clearly an embarrassing topic for her, I decided to change the subject. Yesterday, when we were about to have sex, there was a large skid mark in her underpants, and her buttocks were filled with pieces of poop. I had to find an excuse to get out of the bedroom, and naturally, isn't too interested in sex at the moment. Is there any way I can gently explain that she needs better hygiene without offending her and her shutting the conversation down? I'm honestly at my wit's end. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel. Our posts